Mikel, more chances in the second half, but unfortunately just a point today. So how did you feel about the match?
Yeah, disappointed with the results. Once we opened the game and we're 1-0 up and in full control of the game, we conceded a very poor goal, a goal that against them is going to happen. So we're in total control in the final third, and we allowed a big transition and leads to a corner that you have to defend first, second, third phase. And what we do there against a team like Brentford, not good enough. And then, when you don't do what you have to do, very likely against this team, you're going to concede a goal.
Yeah, why did you feel that happened at the time? Because they did have space to move the ball in the build-up. Of course, it was a good finish from Wissa, but they did have time to move the ball.
No, we don't defend the space next to the taker well enough, and we allow the runner inside the box. And after that is a lottery. The delivery is good. We just throw back in the line, which we should never do, but that's how we concede.
It would be a kind of human nature to drop a little bit the levels of energy and performance after midweek, but how did you feel in terms of the attitude today?
No, I mean, with the attitude of energy, you see the team that at the end we have to play with 10 men because Jorginho cannot continue, and the team plays forward and starts to attack, and he wants to have, and we have two big opportunities to score the goal. He cannot certainly about energy. We are ready. Always, we play every 3 days. We are so used to it, so that's not an excuse.
I saw you were very frustrated with the challenge from Norgard to Martinelli. So how did you feel there?
Yeah, I think my reaction tells everything.
Red card?
My reaction tells everything.
Does it make it even more frustrating that during the season you were on the other end of some questionable red cards?
Yeah, you've been very gentle with that word.
I'm trying. Well, Partey's goal. A great finish, but also a really good reaction from Raya, who saw quickly the space and built that break.
Yeah, great. It's one of the things against them. They commit a lot of players in the box in every set piece, so it's an opportunity in open spaces to hurt them, and the action was really, really good.
And finally now, Madrid, you've been through a lot with this squad, with this group of players. So how do you see them in terms of all the progress you made throughout the years to take up a challenge, manage this scoreline that you got here and go to the Bernabeu?
Yeah, now it's time to recover well, and tomorrow we start to prepare the most beautiful game of the season.
Super.
Thank you.
The most beautiful game of the season so far, because who knows what happens after that. He was not happy, was he? He was pretty frustrated. He's frustrated with dropping points from the leading position again, and he's also frustrated about that challenge on Martinelli, which he felt was punishable by a red card. Steve had his say at half-time. Jamie, what's your take on this?
Well, very rarely do you see a red card for this. Look, it's not a great tackle. It's actually a tackle that can hurt people because you can see it's a twist in motion on Martinelli's knee. But if he would have given him a red card there, we would say, well, OK, every time that happens, it's a red. It is a yellow.
But what if he was injured in the challenge?
It's not a great tackle, I was saying, but it is a real risk. I've seen plenty of times. I actually had a bad injury from someone doing a very similar tackle like that to me. And it can happen because you get your leg caught under it and it twists your knee. He's obviously lucky it doesn't happen in this situation. But I don't feel, because of the rules and everything, that normally is never a red card. So we can't start asking for them now. You know, Mikel Arteta should be more frustrated that his team didn't win the game than that. You know, and a lot of the time it always feels like, oh, it's a conspiracy against him and his team. It isn't. You know, some of the decisions that have been made, I feel, have been red cards, and others, you know, that's sometimes the way it goes. And at the moment, he probably feels that we're on the, you know, things aren't quite going our way. I think he should be really looking at the performances this season. That's why they're 10 points behind Liverpool.
Do you agree with Jamie on that we don't want to see red cards for that kind of tackle? You saw Norgard making the case for the defence afterwards, saying I was sort of running alongside him.
Yeah. I mean, like, looking back and you see in the replay especially, I think if a red card was given, you wouldn't go, it's not a red card. You know, I mean, I think it's on that borderline where it's just on the cusp, where if it wasn't given, you go, okay, it's not. There's no real malice in it to really sort of injure and hurt the player, especially where and I've been there before, where your right leg goes to get the ball and your left leg obviously trails on after. Whereas sometimes, like you said, whereas some people can go in and actually do a scissor tackle to take the player down in that motion, whereas I don't think it was in that case.
We know it's not a pretty tackle, and it's a desperate tackle because Norgard knows he hasn't got the pace to match Martinelli, and you're just trying to almost sieve him down.
So he's just trying to stop him.
Yeah, trying to stop him, and it's just he just lunges and goes in with 2 feet and he hooks his body around. But it's not. We don't see them as normally as a red card. So is it a dangerous tackle? Yeah, of course it is. We know that.
Let's hear from the player who was brought down there. Gabriel Martinelli is giving his reaction to Natalie.
You were on the end of quite a nasty challenge from Norgard. So could you talk us through what happened there? Because Arteta was very frustrated. He wanted a red from that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that again, but in my opinion, in the moment, if my foot was on the floor, he could break my leg. He said he didn't mean it, but I believe him. But it's still, he could have broke my leg, and for me it was red. I need to see it again to be sure, but yeah, for me it was nasty.
Is it especially?
Could have broken my leg, says Gabriel Martinelli. I suppose there's a bit more sensitivity around it because of what is coming their way in a few days' time. Yeah, and listen, it could have done. Any tackle, it can progress to levels, but the way that the body weight goes in, and it's scissored, and the other one, the left leg comes around and traps it. It could easily have a broken leg or damaged knee ligaments. So, it's not a good-looking tackle. No.
Jem, I think it's also a tackle that I think long-term we have to look at. And the reason why I said it's not a red card, because it doesn't ever get given as a red card, that type of challenge. But I do think it is a really dangerous one, because what you do is, in that motion, when you scissor tackle people, you are going to risk ankles, knees getting caught and buckling under you. Now, it happened to me. I had to have a surgery after it. It's a nasty tackle that can happen, but it feels almost a bit of an old-fashioned tackle in the game now, where some of the things that have been eradicated out of the game and red cards are given for certain challenges, that one there, for whatever reason, hasn't been one that's sort of gone to a red card to that extreme yet. But I feel that if that were to happen, then we go, OK, well, we want consistency over across the board. Then that might end up being a red, because it's a tackle that I personally don't like. Now, I've watched Norgard a lot, and he said it was a nasty tackle. I don't necessarily think it's nasty. I think it's pure desperation from him. I've been in that position before. He's not a nasty player. He's an incredibly honest player. But they're the ones that can, unfortunately, hurt you. But to call it nasty, to call it a red card or whatever, I don't quite see it as that, because the consistency hasn't been across the board with that type of tackle. But he is lucky. It certainly can cost you a large part of 6 months or whatever, 3 months with an injury, and especially with such a big game coming up on Wednesday night. But like you said, there's frustration also because they've dropped points again from winning position, and not for the first time in this recent run, which has seen their title challenge completely falter. Those last 7, 2 victories.
Subscribe to my channel for more videos. Drop a like and share.